Hi, welcome to my latest video. In this video I'm going to be continuing my engine tie rod stiffening. So in the last video, part 1, I replaced this rod thing, brackety thing here, and also the one below the engine underneath the car, and I put in these yellow sort of stiffening inserts. Okay, so here are the black versions. The yellow ones are soft polyurethane, and today in this video I'm going to have a look at these stiffer, firmer black inserts. Okay, so now these are sort of race only. That's what they're labelled as, race only inserts. Possibly too firm for the road. I won't know until I try it. I can't resist seeing what they're like. What I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to change this top mount insert from the yellow to the black, which is actually this one here, and just see how that is. Okay, if it's unbearable and the steering wheel is shaking and the car is rattling and every little vibration and annoyance is sort of coming out of the dashboard, then I won't go any further. I'll put it back to yellow. I'm very pleased with the yellow. Feels great. New engine mounts. The engine mount underneath the car that I took off in part 1 was in a terrible state. It was hanging by a thread. It was almost the centerpiece, the sort of the bit that's in the middle of the yellow, that had almost broken free. Okay, so that explains why it felt like my engine was moving around quite a lot. Putting that new mount on with the yellow stiffening inserts has transformed the feel of the car. It just feels so much more sort of solid and powerful and responsive, and that you go on the throttle and there's no kind of delay as the engine sort of rocks about. It just feels a lot better. Okay, much better. Really pleased with the way it is, but I can't resist going one step further and trying the black mounts. Now if I put the top one in and the car is drivable, then I will carry on and put the black insert into the lower mount so that they're both on the black insert. But if I do the top one, because that's easier to do, and everything's shaking about, then I'll just give up at that point, put it back to yellow, and I won't go any further with the black. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is get the camera on the tripod, angle that sort of here, kind of pointing downwards, get in and undo I'll probably have to loosen that bolt at the back and then remove fully the bolt at the front. I'm hoping that will kind of hinge up, and then I can just pull out the yellow thing and put the black one in. The coolant expansion bottle will need loosening, but it doesn't need removing completely. You can just lift it up out the way to allow that bolt to come out. Okay, I don't think I need to remove the entire engine tie bar from the car. It should just pivot up on the rear bolt. Okay, right, I'm going to come around the other side. I'll get the camera on the tripod. Pit Lane Kitty's out here. She's unlikely to be helping me with this, but we shall see. And it's my fault for pulling the car in far too close. I can't move it back now because Pit Lane Kitty's lying behind. So come around this side. I'll get the camera on the tripod and undo. So this one here. Now in part 1 I showed the complete removal of this and the lower engine steady mounting below the engine as well. Okay, so I'm going to start with this one here, loosen this. I think that will need loosening slightly just to allow that to sort of pivot up. This one here, once the expansion bottle's lifted slightly, that bolt comes fully out. Lift that up, swap the yellow for black, put it down, start the car, and see how much of a bone shaker I've turned it into. Okay, right, so first things first, this one here, 10mm, let's remove that, and that will allow the expansion bottle to be lifted up. Now there are two little black pipes here, which in part 1 I did disconnect, just get some pliers and sort of press the little barb things in and pull them off. I'm hoping I don't have to disconnect them here because I don't need that much movement. Now this tank there is a kind of a clippy thing here. It's like a sort of blade and it sits on it. I have to lift it off that. I'm hoping I can do all of this with these hose pipes, balancing pipes still connected. There we go. Right. Is this going to work? Is this going to... You know what? I think those pipes are going to have to be disconnected again, which is annoying because whenever I do that it leaks fluid everywhere. The coolant comes out. Right, okay. Right, well let's just get in and loosen this one off. You want to kink those pipes, they're not that flexible. They're actually sort of fairly rigid plastic. Don't like being bent around. Alright, 15mm socket for this one here. Loosen that slightly. I'm not going to remove that completely. Okay, I will have to pop these pipes off, that's annoying. Fiddly getting these off. There we go. You just sort of push, squeeze with the pliers and push the pliers to pop them back. Okay. Now, this engine is cold. Of course, don't do this immediately after driving the car because there will be pressure in the system. Disconnecting those pipes could lead to a cloud of steam or something. So, right, okay, let's lift this tank. Now the problem is when you lift this, the the head of fluid in the system goes sort of up and it comes out of those pipes. So if you can hook them up, or even better, sort of bung them up somehow, then that would be good. I'm just going to hook them up out of the way with my special uprated headlight release rods. Right, let's get in there. When I assembled this, I put a bit of copper grease on the threads. For exactly this reason. Makes it a little bit easier to remove them when I come to do the black inserts. Right, there's just enough room to get that out. It's very, very long. That should lift up now. Yep, it does. And we can take out the yellow insert. Should just pull out. There we go. Okay, so that one's quite soft. What I'll do now is put in the black one. Now, which way round is it? Okay. Now, I have seen other people put the insert in from that side. I really don't think it matters. I can't see any reason why it should go in from one side or the other. So I'll just put it back in the way that the yellow one was in. Shut that down. there is actually a sensor at the bottom of the tank here with a wire attached to it, and that wire is being pulled quite a bit. So just bear that in mind when you pull the tank around. Come on, get in there. There we go. Right. Right, let's see if I can get the ratchet on it now. Now, Haynes' manual says that these bolts need to be torqued to 100 newton meters, which sounds a ridiculously high torque for something that's going into aluminium. So I'm going to disobey what Haynes says on this and just torque these up reasonably tight by hand. There's just no need for that to be 100 newton meters. It's just crazy torque. So it's actually a little bit difficult to understand in the Haynes, because there are two lines in the torque settings that say upper steady tie bar. One's 100 and one's 110. And the lower one, which is very, very similar, same sort of kind of composition with the inserts and the sort of rubber bits around the central aluminium block. That one I think is 45 newton meters. So I don't know why there's such a difference. If you know, leave a comment below. Let's tighten this one back up. Right. Okay. So let's get that back in there. This one on here. Now I mustn't forget to reattach the black balancing pipes. Just push on. Let's just have a quick look at the coolant level. Now, I don't think there's a tiny patch of wetness under the car. When I did the yellow one, loads of coolant came out. I don't know why it's different this time, but it's probably because I just didn't lift that tank as high as I did when I first did it. So that's that's fine. That's just below max, which is where you'd want it to be, so that's fine. I'll check it after a test drive, because there could be air that's got in, which kind of comes out and the fluid drops a bit. Right, okay. Now, time to start it up and see how it feels. Okay, so that all looks good. The engine has a little tiny bit of movement. You can see that mount there. All looks nice and firm and solid. There's a slight bit of vibration there, which is what you'd expect from a diesel. Now, most important thing is the steering wheel shaking? No, it's not. It's absolutely fine. There's a little tiny bit of vibration, but it's no different to the yellow stiffening insert. So next thing to do is go for a drive. I have to pack everything away, make sure Pit Lane Kitty's out from behind the car, which she is. I don't know where she's gone, in the flower bed I think. I shall take this for a quick drive, and if all is well, then probably tomorrow morning I will fit the black inserts on the lower engine steady, and we'll see how that is. Well, I've just been for a test drive and the results are surprisingly good. I thought that black race insert was just going to be too firm and the steering wheel would be shaking and all of the little vibrations and rattles were going to start appearing around the car and the dashboard and the rear view mirror and things like that. So the results actually were nothing like that. It was really good. Better than the yellow one. The steering wheel didn't shake at all. The engine felt smooth and powerful and responsive. It was very similar to how it was with the yellow inserts. I'd say slightly better and absolutely fine for the road. So tomorrow I'm going to fit this black race insert into the lower mount and see how it is with that one done as well. Okay, but I will be leaving that black insert in that top engine steady bar there. I'm very happy with that. No reason to remove that. I was really expecting it to just be undrivable. I've heard of people saying don't fit the black inserts, it'll be too firm, the car will be shaking itself to death. I've even heard people say that bolts will actually come loose, so they will shake and rattle themselves loose and fall out. I'm not feeling any of that, okay? It's actually absolutely fine. Okay, so success with that one. May well be a different story when I fit this one, okay? So I might end up needing to run black in the upper and yellow in the lower, but I'll put this in and I'll do that tomorrow because I'll have to get the car up on ramps and get underneath, take the sump guard off and everything like that. I'll film that and then I'll drive it again and see if that's okay. And if it is, then that's that. I'll leave it on the black inserts. The yellow ones can be cleaned up and passed on to one of my viewers or whoever wants to fit the yellow ones. Right, okay, I will carry on tomorrow. Okay, so here we are the next day. Blue sky, sunshine, nice calm conditions, perfect for working on the car and filming what I do. So I've put the car up on ramps, got underneath, removed the sump guard and the under tray, and I'm now going to remove the new engine mount that I fitted in part 1 with the yellow stiffening inserts, and I'm going to put in this black race lower mounting stiffening insert. Okay, so this is a much stronger polyurethane than the yellow one currently in there. So let's have a quick look underneath. So there it is. Okay, so that silver bit is the new lower tie bar mounting. The old one was in a terrible state. I removed that in part 1 and it was falling apart. The rubber had completely split and perished. So I put in a brand new one with the yellow insert. Okay, so if you haven't seen part 1 of this video series, then go back and watch that if you want to know how to remove this engine mount. It's something that I never really did until now. Many years with an engine mount that was in a poor state of repair. Okay, so I should have done this long ago. I'd put it off because I actually thought it was quite a difficult job to do, but it's really, really easy. You've got two big bolts, okay, so they're sort of M10 thread bolts, long bolts that go up into the engine mounting, 15mm socket for those, and there's two other bolts which are also 15mm. One goes through the mount thing, through the bit inside the middle of the rubber, and this one goes into here, which is sort of this block thing here, part of the engine. Okay, so 4 bolts, that's all it is, and I've already loosened these off. Okay, so if you're doing this for the first time, these ones in particular can be really, really tight, all right, because the steel will have sort of just kind of locked into that aluminium over the years, and they don't actually need to be torqued up to a very high torque, but obviously if they've never been removed ever, then I actually had to get a long breaker bar on this to loosen those, sort of crack it free from the sort of oxidised aluminium or whatever was locking it in there. Haynes manual says to tighten these up to 45 Newton meters, which is not actually that tight. Okay, so so when you put them back on, it's not a big kind of big torque wrench job. You know, it's only 45 Newton meters, but undoing them can be very, very tight. Right, I've already loosened these slightly. They were only put in a week ago, and I put some copper grease on the threads for exactly this reason, because I knew that I'd be removing them again very, very soon. Okay, so I will now undo all of these. It's actually better to undo these first, because if you take these out, then it's a little bit difficult kind of trying to undo this one in particular, because it will start rotating the engine mounting. Okay, so sort of loosen them all and then remove these two, and then remove the big ones second. Right, I'll do that now and get the mounting off the car, swap the insert over. Okay, so what I've done here is just loosened this one here, the one that goes through the actual mounting. You don't need to remove that completely, but it is best to loosen it so that when you remove the whole thing from the car, you can easily remove that bolt. This one here, let's just get that out. Oops. Okay, so that does need to come out to disconnect it from the sort of the engine block or whatever this thing is here, bearing carrier. For the drive shaft, connected to the it's connected to this sort of big chunk of metal connected to the PTU. Let's get these ones out now. Okay, so big long bolts. Pretty sure these are M10. Might even be M12. I think that's that. Yeah, don't know. Difficult to tell really. I think it's M10. Right, let's try and get the mounting right out now. Okay, so here it is. Okay, so it's coming completely out, and you can see the yellow insert. Okay, there. I'll get this up into the daylight and we can have a closer look. Right, so here it is. So these brackets come off. There's the bolt and the great big washer that sort of keeps the stiffening insert in place. And now I should be able to remove this. Now I'll probably need both hands for this. So I will stop filming, pull that one out, and then where's the black one gone? I've lost it already. I'll find that and stick that in instead. Okay, so here's the yellow stiffening insert. I've pulled that out of there. These thinner ones at the front came out very easily, but the thick ones at the back were in quite tight actually, so just sort of wrestle with that a bit to pull that out, but it's come out in one piece without any damage. So that's the softer floppy one. I'm now going to put in the stiffer black race only insert. So let's push that in. It's exactly the same, just a different grade of polyurethane. So that has to go in somehow. Yeah. Is that the right? Oh, hang on a minute. No, I'm putting it in the wrong way round. There we go. Right, there we go, that's better. I hope the other one was in the right way round. So, yeah, the thicker ones go kind of here on the front of, so it goes like that on the car. Okay, the rear sort of bolt hole is sort of higher than the front one. Okay, so that goes in and pokes through the sort of casting membrane that separates the sort of the two halves of the rubber. Okay, so push that in. Let's see if I can do this with one hand. Okay, right, so I'm going to get that pushed in properly and then reattach it to the car. Okay, so there we go, there's the black insert, it's in there, that's gone in. It was a bit of a tight fit getting that in there. Now, one of these black inserts did come with a small tube of grease, and I'm hoping that was just to make it easier to push that in rather than to prevent it squeaking in use on the car. I've lost the grease, I don't know where I've put it, so I've shoved that in without any grease. It went in, and I'm now going to fit it to the car. It's just pretty sure that is in properly. I'm sure once this big washer kind of sits on it and clamps up, that will sort of push that down fully. It's sitting very slightly proud there, but that should clamp up okay. Definitely all in properly on the other side. Right, I'm going to get underneath the car now and reassemble this. So what I'm going to do in advance of doing that is actually just put this loosely. Now these ones have arrows on. There we go, the arrow points towards the front. Okay, so I shall put this bolt in loosely to keep it all in one piece and get that on the car, and then put the other three bolts in. Okay, so there it is. I've just put that in there with that bolt loose and this bolt loose. And now I'm going to put the other two big bolts in. Now these ones interesting, I thought they were M10. That is an M10 bolt used on the under tray, and that is a bit smaller. Okay, so these I think are M12, and Haynes does actually specify a slightly different torque for M12. It's strangely, it's got M10 and M12. These are all M12. Okay, so maybe earlier models had M10 instead, I don't know. I've not seen different engine mounts available for different years with different threads. So the M12 torque I think is 50 instead of 45. Okay, I will put it at the bottom of the screen now. In the first video I think I did state 45 because I thought these were M10. Alright, so I will need to just put a little note in the description to, whoops, to correct that. Okay, right, I will get these in. Now, it's also mentioned these are exactly the same, these bolts, okay, same length, even though the thread is sort of higher up on the rear hole. Okay, I cannot get that to bite, so I need both hands. So I'm just going to stop filming and get those threaded in. Okay, so I'm just going to tighten those sort of by hand, loose by hand, and then I'm going to go and get the torque wrench and the Haynes manual and find out what torque these bolts need to be. Okay, so I've got my table out, I've got my torque wrench, I've got the Haynes manual. Now this is a bit confusing. Now I might need to sort of just take a photo of this inside and put it on the screen actually. There's a very, very bright sun out here, and I don't know if you can actually read this in the bright light, but what it says here, there are loads of different engine mountings and different torques. Okay, so it talks about the left hand mounting and right hand mounting. Well, left and right is not standing in front of the car facing this, it's always sat in the car looking towards the front. Okay, so this is the left and that's the right. Now they are talking about the actual big engine mounts. Okay, so there are lots of torques there, some very, very high torques there, 175 Newton meters for the big bolts that actually go through the main engine mounts. Okay, but then we have lower engine tie rod and bracket bolts. So that's the thing I've just changed, and it's M12 50 Newton meters, not M10 45 as I wrongly stated in part 1. Okay, so 50 Newton meters I'm pretty sure is what I need to dial up on this rod and bracket bolts, so all 4 bolts. Then we've got the upper engine tie rod mounting bolts, 100 Newton meters. So that's this one here with these 2 bolts, 100 Newton meters. That sounds a very high torque for, certainly for this bolt here, which is going into aluminium. Okay, so that one's into steel, but it's a kind of like a welded nut. It still sounds very high and unnecessarily high. Okay, because those bolts are just going across through the bushes, through the rubber, and I can't see why that would need to be 100 Newton meters. So I've not used a torque wrench on the upper bolts. I've just tightened them up tight by hand. Okay, but it's just worth pointing out that Haynes does say 100 Newton meters for that. Just to make matters more confusing, we've got upper engine tie rod mounting bolts 100, but there's also upper tie rod bolts 110 right hand, you see. So there's 2 upper tie rods, 100 and 110, both ridiculously high torques. Okay, so I'm ignoring those, and I am going to torque up my M12 lower engine tie rod and bracket bolts to 50. So I need 50 Newton meters on this, so I will dial that up and get underneath and get the 15mm socket on and give those a tighten up. Okay, so I've set the torque wrench there to 50 Newton meters, and I'm going to now tighten these up. Come on. That's one. Now I'm doing these big main bolts first, so that the engine mount is held securely when I try to tighten the others up, which are a bit more difficult because they can flex around in the rubber mountings. Right, that's that one, come on, right. And this one here. Now this one, you can see as I tighten that, the engine starts to try and move slightly, although a lot less than it used to. Okay, and then the one at the back. Okay, right, that's all 4 tightened up to the specified torque. I'm now going to start the car and see how much the steering wheel shakes. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is just give the car a quick start and just see how that feels. Okay, that feels absolutely fine. You can see here the shadow's shaking a bit, the door's shaking a little bit because it is open. The steering wheel, absolutely, that feels absolutely fine. Little tiny bit more vibration than with the yellow inserts, but still a comfortable level. Engine itself is shaking a bit, but not nothing to worry about. Okay, right, okay, so I'm going to turn that off now. Okay, so that's good. I think this is going to be okay, but the proof will be a test drive. So I'm going to get it down off the ramps now and take it out for a quick drive and just see how that feels. Okay, so I've just got back from a quick test drive. Everything is very good, but also very firm feeling. Okay, so I am going to stick with these black inserts, but I would only recommend them if you want your car to feel solid as a rock. They really are race only inserts. The top one didn't seem to make much difference, but the bottom one, the whole sort of footwell and the pedals and the floor pan and the kind of the lower part of the dashboard are not vibrating, but sort of you do feel every little stroke of those pistons in the engine through the bulkhead. Okay, so it is very firm, very solid feeling, but I like that. Okay, it is a bit of a personal choice. I like to sort of have that kind of real feeling of the engine through the pedals and the steering wheel and that, so you kind of get that sort of feedback feel. If you want comfort, then don't go for the black inserts. Okay, go for yellow or no inserts. All right, so probably no inserts at all if you don't want any kind of firmness to the sort of the feel of the car. If you want a little bit more sort of responsive feedback kind of feeling, then go for yellow. If you want it to feel absolutely kind of like solid like a race car, then try the black ones. You could of course just go for black at the top, yellow at the bottom if you wanted something in between. Okay, but yeah, thought I'd fit them. I am going to stick with them. I'm going to drive up to the Billing show in Northampton tomorrow. That's about a 2-hour drive each way, so I'll see how it goes. I'm going to hang on to the yellow inserts for a little while. I'm not going to give those away just yet, just in case I do switch back. Okay, so at the moment it seems okay, but I haven't done a long journey. Right, so I just want to do a proper drive, run these ones for a couple of weeks and just get a feel. If it really is getting a bit too sort of shaky in the car, then I will have to drop back to the yellow ones. But for now, we are on race only black inserts. I hope that video was useful. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you very much. Bye.